Happy Wednesday, all. Welcome to our 2:30 Facebook Live. Good to see you, Paulie G.
How are we, Dan? What's happening, my brother?
Very good, mate. And looking forward to diving deep into a great topic that just came about through a conversation with one of our newer heroes. And I've been in touch with him and he mentioned that I could share the message that was sent out because I think it's relevant for all of us to some degree or another. And it'd be great to unpack this together and hear from you, Paulie, share a few experiences and some options and solutions. And then if anyone's live and direct with us on the Hero Tribe, it'd be great to hear from you as well. Let's just take a moment and see if anyone's joining with us.
Only yourself and myself right now, Dan, man.
Any questions, Paulie?
I have so many questions, but I don't know where to begin, really. So why don't we start with the actual, the communication that you had with your dad, because I think it'd be a valuable starting point.
Yeah. First, I just want to say, it's amazing to see the engagement in the group. It's growing. There's more and more heroes joining every week. It's totally amazing to be able to connect with so many dads around the world, so many men around the world in this way. We're building something very special. So thank you for everyone's engagement and for joining us. Paulie, thanks for everything that you're contributing, mate.
And likewise to yourself, Dan. And I just got to double down on what you're saying and reiterate it. It's like, you guys are this tribe. This is what this is the lifeblood of the support network. In this tribe, we have individuals, and there's nothing more important than the individual growing within himself. And then we have the coaching environment that myself and Daniel will continue to give every inch of our being to. But the tribe, the collective tribe that we have got here is such a profoundly important ingredient to self-growth on an individual level. You are so much greater than just the sums of your individual parts. So to be inspired by this group and to grow and grow and grow, that's just all you guys giving to these moments in these Facebook Lives, the workouts, being able to offer advice and support when somebody posts on the Hero Tribe. So I just want to really applaud you guys and thank you for contributing on a daily basis.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously we've had some really open shares in the last couple of days and we're really picking each other up when we need to be lifted. Some late night training sessions, as we saw earlier today, just brings a lot of inspiration as to what is really possible and how we can live our lives. And so posting your experiences here is just such a powerful way to connect and also inspire, because that's really what this is about too. Inspiring and motivating and encouraging. And so we're holding this space together. And so I wanted to bring this topic up because I think that it's super relevant and really important. And I'm sure we've all experienced it from time to time. So got the message. Hey fellas, just wanted to reach out in the hope that you can help me out. I'm having a hard time balancing everything out and including the routine into my day. I feel like I've got too much on my plate and really want to make this work. Any advice? So firstly, just like the opportunity to connect in that way is really how we make great breakthroughs. I think internalizing or going things alone is really a recipe to fail. Because it might be hard to G yourself up, to build that discipline, to build that commitment. So don't go it alone because you don't have to. You've got us and you've got the tribe. And so that's why it's powerful to read this message aloud so we can all kind of connect to it and share the wisdom from our own experiences. And I always like to think when there feels like there's too much on the plate, it's like really just taking things like one activity at a time, one moment at a time, to not overindulge or over-project all the things that need to be done, because that's like living in the future. And it can be quite distracting living there because there's so much to do when we're in the present. So it's how to take stock and just one foot in front of the other, step by step, how to execute what needs to be done. And so it's just as much as what is in front of us that needs to be taken care of, whether that's family oriented, professionally, or in terms of taking care of ourselves. It's how do we prioritize the most important thing and make the most important thing the most important thing. And when we execute it and just take that vantage point, all of a sudden it's just like we tick something off, we celebrate that, we move on. But if we're focusing in on trying to do everything at one time, it's just overwhelm. And we all know that living in a place of overwhelm, it's like we're paralyzed and we actually don't do anything and nothing can be done. So it's just decluttering the system and focusing in on what's the most important thing that I need to do right now and taking action there, and it really like ticking it off, celebrating it, and then moving on to the next thing. Chunking it down is always just the most simple approach, one task at a time, one activity at a time, one moment at a time. And then the overwhelm just dissipates because we know we're succeeding in doing what needs to be done.
Mm. Mm. And, that is like at the moment in time, that is to me always the greatest and most profound advice that you could give. But when you are in a moment where you see things quite clearly and you have a moment to really like pave out the path ahead and the week ahead and take a look at where there may be gaps in your week that you didn't see existing in a moment of flusteredness, or as you say, kerfuffleness, and being in a moment of anxiety. But if you step away from that and you're like, okay, there actually is time in the day for me to prepare food, to train myself, to be with my family, to be with myself. Sometimes if you step away and actually go through the process of mapping out your week, you'll see blocks that you didn't necessarily see previously because you've taken that time to just kind of have a rational approach to it. And we've all been there. Like, when things start to pile up, you feel like you're not going to be able to get out of this hole for eternity. But the reality is when you rationalize it, there is always a way to create space for yourself.
Yeah, I like kind of framing things that when you're looking at things from the mountaintop, from the summit, you get to see everything really clearly. But when you're in the valley, when you're in the forest, all you can see is the trees and the distractions and the disturbances around you. So sometimes to elevate up to that summit, and really when I say that, it's like doing that with us, doing that with the tribe, with your coach, is a way to stay on point, stay focused, stay accountable, and just map it out together as a team. And in doing so, like Paul said, you find those gaps and you see where there is that kind of dead space that isn't being utilized in the most beneficial or valuable way. And it's like, well, how can I, bring some light to that perspective, that time, that space that you've got, and how can I kind of fill it with some beneficial energy, some activity that's going to move you closer to your goal. And it's so amazing that when you kind of open that lens a little bit wider, we start to see things in a vastly more open way, rather than just any limitation, any closed kind of system. And that's what often can happen. It's this kind of closed view on how we see our lives. And really, we're only as limited as our kind of intelligence allows us to be. But when we open the perspective a little bit, all of a sudden, it's like there are gaps everywhere. It's like driving from work to home or from home to work. There is like a little bit of a time there to listen to something, maybe to even just pause, stop the car, get out, see a nice spot, do something energetic. And so if you do it punctually, as in like if you need to get home by a certain time or to get to work at a certain time, do it in a way where you're giving yourself a little bit of space so you can do something. And that's really just skillfulness, like looking at where you can piece together the training you want to get done. Again, Paul said, like in terms of cooking and nutrition, it's like batching is really key. So you don't have to think about it. There doesn't have to be that overwhelm. And in terms of just, yeah, like maximizing your day, it's like sometimes you are in bed early, which means you can wake up a little bit early. Sometimes you don't sleep, so you can do a training session at 1 a.m. You know, sometimes when there is a bit of time and space, maybe get some cooking done with the kids, with the family. There's just so many ways you can participate in your life in such an optimal way. It's just like, how willing are you and how much energy can we contribute to that moment so it can be the best that it can be.
And you know, sometimes it's looking at perceived limitations as opportunities. You were talking about driving in your car home. What if you looked at, you know I've fallen into this trap many times, getting every goddamn red light on the way home. But what if you saw a red light as an opportunity to just pause, because you need to pause or else you're breaking the law, and take a breath and use it as a moment to just be internal and actually pause the world for just 30 seconds and then start again. You know, that's just a self-made moment of mindfulness.
That is just so perfect. And it kind of just makes me think that, because what we're doing here, it's not just about training, and it's not just about nutrition, and it's not just about lifestyle. It's doing what's needed in the moment to, you know, give yourself this moment of self-care. And that can look so different for each one of us, but it's about taking that moment for yourself. And that might be a breath. That might be, you know, in yoga, a shavasana, just lying down, closing your eyes and just letting yourself have a moment of rest. You know, it might be being in your office chair right now and just getting up and doing 10 squats because you're only sitting. So it's like, it's an opportunity. Another thing that I know Paulie loves, the old Tuscan squat, which maybe he can elaborate on the story. But if you do need to go to the bathroom, that's an opportunity.
Well, Oren's online, and Oren, I'm not sure I've told you about the origins of the Tuscan squat, but
let's hear it.
It seems like a perfect opportunity to do so. And it also seems like a great opportunity since in Australia, at least, the weather's nice and warm, and the Tuscan squat was born in the summer, albeit in Tuscany. But what this opportunity really presented itself with was an opportunity when I was in Tuscany to look, there was no way I wasn't going to be taking full advantage of the amazing food in Italy. And I was just very determined in the fact that I am going to consume the food there at peril, because Italy, you know, when in Rome, as they say. But I made it a determination every time I went to the bathroom to do, I believe it was 40 or 50 squats before I went to use the toilet. And the incredible mechanism that took place there, you know, especially if you consume as much water as I do, it just gives you, it may not seem like a lot at the time, but what it does is it gives you just an opportunity to continuously pepper that heart rate and continuously undulate that heart rate throughout the day and give your metabolism a bit of a boost, up and down, up and down. And that does wonderful things for your ability to consume and burn calories in a thermogenic effect. So, you know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's a wonderful opportunity to just weave food, to weave exercise throughout the day. And it's simply just a matter of, and let me just remember who I was talking to yesterday. Yes, I was talking to somebody, a dad yesterday from the Hero Tribe. I won't say exactly who it is because I haven't asked his permission, but he was looking for an opportunity to drink more water. And this is a very similar concept. I asked him, you know, he had his water down pat first thing in the morning. He drank a little bit of water at work, and then when he came home, he kind of like teed it off with his hydration. So what we did was we kind of reverse engineered his day, and we said, I asked him, what do you do anything in a predictable nature when you get home from work? And he said, yeah, I get home from work and I check on the kids. They've done their homework, and I tend to work through their homework with them. And then I get the coals and I fire up the barbie. And that's what I pretty much do on a daily basis. And I was like, fantastic. Before you get those coals out and before you fire up the barbie, you're to make a mental note. You're to attach that action with another action, and that's to grab a liter of water and have it with you. So you've got it in your hand, and it can be attributed to having a glass of wine or a beer, but you've got that something in your hand, drinking it as you're firing up the barbie. And all of a sudden you've hydrated yourself, you've attached it to an action that you do on a daily basis. And it's a predictable action that you can continue to do. And obviously, to go back to the nature of what we're the Tuscan Squad, going to the toilet is something that you do on a daily basis. So depending on how much water you drink, you have the opportunity to punch out 40 to 50 squats a great many times.
I love it. What a great solution. And just kind of reflecting again upon having too much on your plate and feeling like you're trying to bite off more than you can chew. Just the importance of like one activity at a time, and doing that really well, and then moving forward. And then it's like there's not ever too much on the plate. There's only just one thing on the plate. And the simplicity of that can't be understated, because it can be overwhelming when there's just way too much complexity going on. That's when overwhelm comes into the fore. And so to mitigate that from really happening, it's just to, keep the focus on, I'm with my kids, then that's the focus. I'm driving to work, that's the focus. I'm at work, that's the focus. If, you're playing too many games out of how things are going to be and what I missed out on, then we're just never present to what we're actually doing. So we lose the opportunity to be present by focusing in on, the past or what will be. So it's just, again, chunking it down, keeping it really simple, and just one thing at a time. Paulie, any action on the...
Yeah, we do. We've actually got some questions. Oren has asked, I'm not sure if it's been articulated in a way that I can understand it, but can you explain the difference between something and yoga? He hasn't really, I don't know what that something is. I feel like it may be, I'm going to call it stretching, because I'm just not sure what it is. Oren, if you're still online, can you let me know what that's something? Oh, Pilates and yoga. No problem. No worries, mate. He's working. I'm sure you're locking down some big time deals here. So let's just see what is happening in terms of the difference between Pilates and yoga. Dan, would you like to take this one?
Sure. Well, I've practiced yoga, and I teach yoga, and my experience with yoga is there's various kind of modalities within the yoga world. So there is the element of stretching the body. There's the element of moving in poses where we're connecting a pose to a breath. There's, restorative yin yoga, which is long holds, keeping it nice and slow. There's more yang style vinyasa, power flow yoga, where it's more strength based. So I would say it's hard to kind of categorize a specific difference, because I think there are some similarities there. It's the same with like Pilates. There's, mat Pilates, where you're using your own body weight, which is similar to yoga, where it's more body weight work. But of course there's, Pilates reformer, where we're using a machine to help us move the body in different ways. I would say, like in my experience, when I'm doing Pilates, I feel like it's more either strengthening aspects of my body where I feel like there is some deficiency or weakness. I think you can get into some really interesting areas in the body when doing Pilates, because some of the movements can be so subtle and so acute that you can work into some aspects of the body that might not get touched doing strength training, doing HIIT training, or even doing yoga. So I feel like there's some real value and benefit in Pilates in that respect. I did a lot of my rehab on a hamstring tendinopathy injury that I've had for almost 17 months. And I just laid into a serious Pilates support structure to get me stable within my hamstring and allow me to run. And so I was just doing a lot of work on glute strengthening, on hamstring strengthening. When you've got tendinopathy, it's not always about stretching, it's a lot about strengthening. So I had some great rehab experiences doing that. And in terms of yoga, I actually had to pause that a little bit because there was a bit too much stretching element involved. So my load went into the Pilates world rather than the yoga world. My passion in yoga is really the yin restorative base. I do a lot of intense training. So to hold poses for between 5 and 7 minutes, I only need to do a 4 or 5 for that to take up quite a bit of time, but it sets me up for a great sleep. And it also gives me a chance to be, by myself, to connect with the breath, to allow my body. I love to use the word melt, like melt into the ground or melt into the experience, because you're just staying put in the fire of discomfort. And I think all of us men might have, and this might be a bit of a generalization, but tightness, not feeling so flexible, especially maybe in the hips or the shoulders. To hold a pose really opens things up, and I'm happy to go through the tribe and take you through a couple of sequences that I do where I just hold and just allow the body to melt into the ground. So there's a bit more internalized nourishment in the yoga world for me, and in Pilates I would say it's still a little bit more active, working into the rehab, working into those little muscles. So yeah, maybe that's a long-winded answer, but hopefully that kind of, satisfies. Paul, any thoughts?
Well, I think it'd be wonderful for you to do a yin-based yoga, perhaps maybe in an evening for the guys before they go to bed. Could be a wonderful thing for.
Give us a thumbs up if you're into that.
Yeah, that could be a really great, useful thing to be able to do. I use the word melt. I just love the word surrender as well. Surrendering to the gravity of just falling and, like you say, melting into a pose, a yin-based pose. There's something pretty magical that happens at that 2.5 minute point where you can just feel your body. Because the interesting thing about your tendons and your active tissue in your body is, especially as we get older, they're doing a lot of research into the neuromuscular and tendon relationship that takes place. We protect our body in such a serious way by tightening it up. And this is just like an evolutionary protective thing. And then over time, with that yin process, it just allows your body to just open up and melt. So yoga definitely has a great emphasis in my mind on stretching and opening up the body. The original source of yoga, to my mind, is to prepare the body for meditation. That's the whole reason why yoga in the Yoga Sutras and all of these ancient texts, they were really created to really prepare the body to be seated in a meditation posture. From my understanding, my limited understanding of Pilates, Pilates is really focusing on the core and being able to develop that core, being able to develop your supportive muscle groups, so it can then support the greater, grosser muscle structures in your body. And if you have a greater activation of your glute medius, your deep core muscles and all the rest of it, then you're going to be able to execute movements in a much more confident manner.
Yeah, perfect. Hopefully, yeah, that kind of responds to your question, Oren. And
he has the same problem due to poor rehab at the time of injury. I'm assuming, Oren, you are referring to your hamstring. And if you are, I'm sure Dan has an incredible amount of, hammy. I'm sure he has some wisdom that he can pass on to you.
I'd love to. Let's jump on a call and talk it through, because I'm actually just amazed. Only in the last month has it felt like my hamstring, I'm pain-free for the first time. And it's phenomenal how it kind of came about and what I did and how I'd kind of tended to it. So yeah, give me a call. Let's talk. Absolutely.
And, you know, these things do take time, as Dan's kind of said. So you've got to be patient with these things, you know. We're definitely not as young as we used to be. And as I mentioned and drew attention to earlier, our bodies tighten up over time, and it's predominantly this neuromuscular relationship, this protection of our body to stop itself from overextending itself, which is something that you see our children, for example, they just drop into these squats like it's effortless. Every time my daughter does it, I'm just like, I'm so jealous of you. But it's because their body hasn't experienced them being beaten up by it, the amount that we have, but also it's because they don't have those protection mechanisms in their mind. And that doesn't really set in until you're like mid to late 20s. And that's a part of the reason why so many elite athletes start to kind of go downhill at that stage.
Yeah. Our kids are great people to learn from.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Oren said done 100%. So he's down with that.
Any other questions? Any other engagements, comments?
No, it doesn't seem like it. But I think that's a really nice place to leave, where we've kind of had a chat. Ultimately, I think a really good action item for everybody who is either live today or wants to kind of check out this replay. A couple of things that we can garner from this conversation is, maybe it would be a wise decision not just to do a week, which we've been doing a lot of weekly reviews and looking into the past to look at how we've been able to kind of review our week and apply it to the next week. But let's look at the week ahead and say to ourselves, where are times where we may not have considered would be an opportunity to do, to give to ourselves, whether that's in the way of exercise, food planning, or just being present in the moment. And then once we've identified those points, there's no need to worry about it anymore. There's no worry in place. You planned your time out, then just be present. And when, set an alert for yourself for that time in the week. And it may be on a daily basis. It may even be on an hourly basis, where you hop up and you do 10 squats an hour, but it's there and there's nothing to worry about, because you can just kind of be present in life in a moment-to-moment situation.
Perfect, Paulie. Thank you, everyone. That was really cool. Very awesome to connect with you all, and looking forward to checking in soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Oren, it's been a pleasure, my man. Thanks so much. And we will see you all again very, very soon. We'll continue to let you know about when these conversations come up, when our workouts come up as well. I'm really looking forward to this yin-based yoga as well. I think we should activate that big time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. See you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.